And welcome back to Newsmax Now. Authorities believe the two gunmen who opened fire outside a free speech event in Texas plan to do more damage.
We think their strategy was to get to the event center, into the event center, and they were not able to get past that outer perimeter.
A police officer killed the two gunmen before they were able to get inside, but a security officer was shot and wounded in that attack. Baltimore's Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake says the city is committed to rebuilding the Mary Harvin Center. Rioters set fire to the senior housing community during last week's riots. In Boston, Joe Carzarnias' relatives are testifying in the sentencing trial against the convicted Boston bomber. The 21-year-old finally showed some emotion today. He was seen crying when his aunt took the stand. Federal officials in New York charged the state Senate Majority Leader and his son with corruption and extortion. A criminal complaint accuses the men of pressuring a real estate developer to cough up hundreds of thousands of dollars in payments. And Prince William and his lovely bride Kate have finally named England's new princess. According to the palace, her name is Charlotte Elizabeth Diana. Very fitting. Nice tribute to his mother.
All right. Welcome back in. We're going to continue our conversation now with Newsmax Prime host J.D. Hayworth because there's so much to talk about with 2016. J.D., we left off, we were talking about Mike Huckabee. Why does he do so well in the Iowa caucuses?
Well, remember, and some folks backing Rick Santorum would be quick to tell you that, hey, wait a minute, Santorum won in 2012. But in 2008, Mike Huckabee is a master of retail politics, and both, especially Iowa, with social conservatives who can be mobilized and actually getting people to show up at the caucuses is the big thing. New Hampshire is a little bit of a different kind of thing, a straight traditional primary. But in both instances, especially in Iowa, Huckabee has a great sense as a retail candidate. His manner, being a former pastor, what so many in the secular world criticize, actually helps him in terms of going into situations to talk to people, to communicate. Now, it is worth noting, a whole bunch of candidates are socially conservative as well as fiscally conservative. You got a couple of young men from the U.S. Senate who are trying to stake that out, and Ted Cruz and to a lesser degree Marco Rubio. So this is not the same situation, and yet there is something to be said for someone who has been around the track once, at least to understand the rhythm and the rhyme and the financing of a presidential campaign. So that could redound to Huck's benefit in a place like Iowa.
And does it help him also being a governor versus a first-time senator?
Yeah, I believe that you're going to see a lot of people make a case saying, look, governors are chief executives. They have executive experience. And that's really important in picking a president, I think, especially in contrast to Mr. Obama having been elected as a first-term senator.
All right, let's talk about Carly Fiorina a little bit, too. She does not have the political experience either, much like Ben Carson. But again, that might not be so bad.
Well, a caveat there, John. She did run for the U.S. Senate in 2010 in California and lost because the state has gone so far to the left. It is interesting the role that Carly Fiorina will play in this race. Understand that Hillary Clinton's campaign is cruising now, waiting to claim victimhood, waiting for a male Republican to say something untoward, and then Mrs. Clinton will say, oh, I'm hurt, oh, I can't believe you said that. Carly Fiorina takes a lot of that away. And Ms. Fiorina, as she did in her announcement, as she's done on the stump, goes after Hillary Clinton with a kind of joyous abandon. But again, she has executive experience and she is able to contrast herself favorably with Mrs. Clinton. So I actually believe, and Ms. Fiorina has shown great appeal to some crowds in Iowa and New Hampshire, but I believe long term, and she would never say this, but could you imagine, given her gift for effective executive invective against Mrs. Clinton,
that was a tongue twister.
Wasn't
right
it good?
Yeah.
Effective
really
executive invective.
Well, given that,
as we let that sink in, what I'm saying is, it is the role traditionally of a vice presidential candidate
to be the attack
to just absolutely peel the rhetorical paint off your opponent. Ms. Fiorina is showing great aptitude in that role, Don't be surprised if she's unsuccessful running for the top spot. I think she may figure prominently in the Veep stakes, as it were.
We're running out of time, but real quickly, her executive experience. Some people have actually criticized her executive experience.
Well, sure, and we have our friends on from the left, Ari Rabenhoft and others, who go through a litany of supposed corporate moves that have taken investment out of the United States. Of course, that's really governed by the tax code more than anything else.
Right.
She may be able to explain that to her advantage, but I see her candidacy as intriguing, to say the least, and something we'll continue to keep an eye on.
We know the tax code is something that she's going to want to talk about, one of her areas of expertise. So we will see and hear more about that certainly coming up.
Real quickly, what do we have coming up tonight on Newsmax Prime?
General Michael Hayden will join us to talk about a known wolf attack in Texas. We'll also talk about the presidential campaign, and Dr. Zuhdi Jasser checks in again more with that known wolf bite.